You know, one of the best parts of this time of year is having a chance to spend time with our parents, grandparents, and our older relatives. But imagine not having that chance, prevented by a court order from having access to your mom or your dad or any control over critical decisions about their care. It's an all too familiar nightmare for some families, thanks to guardianship corruption. And it's the subject of our Aging in America segment this morning. Morally unfit guardians and healthcare surrogates are exploiting people who can't defend themselves, boxing out other relatives or in some cases entire family members altogether. While the Department of Justice is aware of the problem, the agency says they don't know how many adults in the United States are under some form of abuse of guardianship. Now, a number of states are attempting to protect the rights of relatives and those who are perhaps the most vulnerable from abuse. One of the more famous cases is of former TV talk show host Wendy Williams, which is being highlighted in a new docuseries. For more on this topic and what's being done to help, I'm joined by the daughter of Karilyn Montanti and guardianship reform advocate Christine Montanti. Also with us, New York State Senator Anthony Palumbo. Christine, this has been a saga that hits so close to home for you, and it's been going on for a while. Similarly to the way it hits home for Wendy Williams and her family, your mother is the victim of guardianship corruption. You were denied due process just for simply trying to visit her. Talk to us about what's going on here, because this isn't just the case of family members who kind of aren't getting along over what to do with mom and dad. It's much deeper and seems to be, in some cases, much more insidious than that.
That's correct. Well, thank you for having me, Tom. On the surface, it appears that the guardianship system is designed to protect the rights of vulnerable individuals. However, it's a system that is susceptible to abuse by unscrupulous court-appointed guardians, care managers, power of attorneys, and attorneys who are engaging in abusive behavior for the sole purpose of financially exploiting elders. And they are using, and it's just morally and mentally unfit family members and court-appointed individuals. I just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah.
And they're using the elder care system as a vehicle to financially exploit elders. So in the case of my mother, when I was blocked access to her, I tried to resolve the situation amicably for months, but I didn't get anywhere. So I had no other choice but to seek relief in the guardianship court system. And I was appalled and horrified at the injustices that are occurring in the system by the same three Broward County, Florida, court-appointed individuals who were entrusted to protect my mother's interests, but instead they were engaging in abuse by keeping her locked up and isolated into separate assisted living facilities where she was denied access to the outside world. She wasn't allowed to use her telephone. It was taken away. Her balcony was nailed shut. She was blocked complete access to her entire family and friends without ever having an evidentiary hearing, without due process, without her Broward County court-appointed attorney giving her notice of any hearings being held. She was pleading to go to court.
It sounds like this is legitimately, a nightmare for you and for your mother. Senator Palumbo, you're doing your part to make sure instances like this don't happen. You have been pushing for Karilyn's law, and it stops a guardian or power of attorney from preventing all visitation rights and from putting someone in isolation. Tell us more about what the law that you're promoting will do.
Certainly, Tom. And the bottom line is it just creates a presumption that you can see your loved one. And as Christine just said, the fact that you can have a stranger exclude you from seeing your family member simply who has financial interests in it, simply because they want to, without showing any sort of abuse, any sort of financial abuse, physical abuse, that this law simply creates a presumption of seeing that person and and gives you an immediate hearing for the purposes of maybe rebutting that presumption if there is some sort of untoward conduct going on. And I'm an attorney, I'm a former prosecutor, so I get get that we need to have our day in court, and on occasion, sadly, there are people who maybe should be excluded from seeing their loved one, but certainly that's not the case with Christine and her mother, Karilyn. And that's not the case in many, many instances, like Wendy Williams. Her son was excluded. You've heard all the stories. Casey Kasem, that just because the person's famous doesn't mean that that they should have any different rights than anybody else.
And what you're doing,
what it does, in fact, happen to her. They were selling her property off for less than market value. There are a number of abuses in the system that should be rectified quite easily, or could be, if this law were to be actually passed in every state.
Senator, I need to interrupt you for a second because I want to continue here, but it's because it's you and Christine, what you're doing. There are also a number of other states that are also pursuing very similar legislation. Christine, your story got a lot of attention. Now so many people are looking to you for help. What's really important here is talk to our audience about how do you know, what are the warning signs that there could be some guardianship abuse that is either occurring or maybe about to occur, where you need to engage before it's too late, maybe and maybe go down a legal route, maybe contact your elected officials.
Right. Well, unfortunately, we're seeing it's not only family members and court-appointed individuals that are initiating guardian proceedings. We're seeing financial institutions such as Wells Fargo in the case of Wendy Williams. We're seeing religious entities, and we're seeing medical facilities. So you should definitely plan legally for your advanced healthcare directives and have them put in place. But unfortunately, we're seeing courts across the nation just toss these advanced healthcare directives aside and appoint public guardians and disinherit individuals from their trusts. So the warning signs are initially an alleged incapacitated individual. Well, let me correct that. You should always have in your directives to age in place at home if possible. Because what we're seeing is once an alleged incapacitated person is deemed incapacitated, the courts, why this bill is so important, because the courts are conducting a one-sided hearing and they're not allowing both sides to testify. But then they're going to start blocking the individuals, and then you need to petition the court. So Karilyn's law puts that mechanism in place where a guardian, care manager, or attorney, power of attorney can't arbitrarily block visitation without clear and convincing evidence.
Christine, I'm up against a hard break, but this is a very big issue, and we encourage our audience to find out about things that you can do to protect yourself. And we're certainly going to be watching the advance of this legislation in those states around the country. That is the result of your great work. Christine Montanti and State Senator Anthony Palumbo, thank you for what you're doing here, and keep us updated on your progress.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.